A study of over 122,000 people found that a single fitness marker predicted death more accurately than smoking, diabetes, or heart disease. Your GP has never tested it, your annual checkup does not include it, and most executives I work with have never even heard of it. Today, I'm going to give you 4 numbers, 4 specific measurable markers that predict how long you are going to live, and more importantly, how well. Every single one of them is modifiable. Every single one of them is within your control. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand on each one, because I am going to show you how to measure them yourself. I am Dr. Mark Holmes. I have spent 35 years in clinical medicine, and these are the 4 numbers I check first with every client who walks through my door. If you find this valuable, subscribe to the channel. I publish new videos every week on the science of living longer and performing better. And if you want to know your overall longevity score across all 6 pillars, not just these 4 markers, there is a free Executive Longevity Scorecard in the description. It takes 8 minutes, it is completely free, and you get a personalised report at the end. Link is below. Number 1, VO2 max, the king of longevity markers. If I could know only one number about a person's future health trajectory, it would be their VO2 max. VO2 max measures the maximum amount of oxygen your body can process during intense exercise. Think of it as your engine capacity. A bigger engine means more power, more reserve, more resilience, and according to the research, significantly more years of healthy life. Here is what makes this extraordinary. Mansager and colleagues published a landmark study in JAMA Network Open analyzing over 122,000 patients. They found that cardiorespiratory fitness was the single strongest predictor of death from all causes, not just cardiovascular death, all causes. And the effect was staggering. Moving from the bottom 25% of fitness to the 50th percentile reduced the risk of dying by approximately 50%. And unlike many health markers where there is a sweet spot, too much is harmful, with VO2 max, more is always better. The elite fitness group had a 5-fold lower mortality risk compared to the least fit. There was no upper limit of benefit, none. Now here is why this matters to you specifically. VO2 max declines roughly 10% per decade after age 30 if you do nothing about it. That decline is not just a number getting worse, it represents the shrinking gap between what your body can do at maximum capacity and what it needs to do just to function independently. Climbing stairs, carrying luggage through an airport, recovering from surgery, playing with your grandchildren in 10 years. When your VO2 max drops below approximately 18, you lose the ability to live independently. The executive with a VO2 max of 45 at age 50 has decades of reserve. The executive with a VO2 max of 25 at age 50 is already on the precipice. Same age, completely different future, how to measure it. The gold standard is a lab test with a mask and a treadmill, but your Apple Watch, Garmin or Whoop will give you a reasonable estimate. If your watch shows a number, look at it today. For men aged 40 to 59, a good target is above 35. Above 40 puts you in the top quartile. Below 30 should concern you. How to improve it? Zone 2 training. That is the intensity where you can hold a conversation but would prefer not to. 3 to 4 sessions per week, 30 to 45 minutes each. Walking briskly uphill, cycling, rowing. This is the single highest leverage exercise you can do for longevity. Not HIIT, not heavy lifting. Consistent, moderate intensity zone 2. Number 2, HRV, heart rate variability. Most people think a steady heartbeat is healthy. It is actually the opposite. A healthy heart does not beat like a metronome. It speeds up and slows down constantly in response to your breathing, your posture, your thoughts, your environment. That variation, the tiny differences in time between each beat, is what we measure as HRV. Higher HRV means your autonomic nervous system is flexible, adaptive, and resilient. Lower HRV means your system is rigid and stressed. And here is the critical point. HRV correlates with longevity more strongly than almost any single marker. Think of it like a car's suspension. Stiff suspension looks strong but brakes on rough terrain. Flexible suspension absorbs the bumps and keeps the vehicle moving. Your nervous system works the same way. The executives I see who are running at full throttle 14-hour days, poor sleep, constant decision fatigue almost always have suppressed HRV. Their nervous system is locked in fight or flight mode. The sympathetic accelerator is jammed down. The parasympathetic brake barely functions. Why should this worry you? Because chronic sympathetic overdrive is not just uncomfortable. It drives elevated cortisol, suppressed immune function, impaired sleep architecture, increased inflammation, accelerated biological aging, and higher risk of cardiovascular events. It is the physiological signature of burnout, and it is measurable years before burnout shows up as a diagnosis. How to measure it? Any modern wearable will track HRV during sleep. The Oura Ring, Whoop, and Apple Watch all provide it. The absolute number matters less than the trend. If your 7-day average is trending downward, your recovery is falling behind your stress load. If it is trending upward, your interventions are working. What good looks like? There is no universal benchmark because HRV varies enormously by age and individual. But as a rough guide for men aged 40 to 60, a resting HRV above 40 milliseconds is reasonable. Above 60 is strong. Below 25 warrants attention. The trend over weeks matters more than any single reading. How to improve it? The fastest route is breathwork. Resonance frequency breathing, approximately 5.5 breaths per minute, roughly 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, directly stimulates the vagus nerve and produces measurable HRV improvement within a single session. 10 minutes a day, no equipment, no cost. Compounding returns over weeks and months. Sleep is the other lever. 1 week of restricted sleep, 5 hours a night, suppresses HRV to a level that mirrors chronic stress. Fix your sleep and your HRV improves almost immediately. Number 3, waist to height ratio, the number that beats BMI. This one requires no technology whatsoever, just a tape measure, and it is a better predictor of metabolic health than BMI. BMI, body mass index, was designed in the 1830s by a Belgian mathematician studying population averages. It was never intended as an individual health metric. A rugby player with 12% body fat and an obese sedentary man can have the same BMI. It tells you almost nothing about what is happening inside your body. Waist to height ratio is different. It captures something BMI completely misses: visceral fat. The fat stored around your internal organs, your liver, your pancreas, your heart. This is not the fat you can see or pinch. It is the fat that drives insulin resistance, systemic inflammation, fatty liver disease, cardiovascular risk, and even cognitive decline. There is a concept in medicine called the TOFI phenotype: thin outside, fat inside. A person can look lean, have a normal BMI, and harbor dangerous levels of visceral fat that is silently driving disease. The only way to detect it without imaging is through biomarkers, and your waist to height ratio is the simplest proxy we have. How to measure it? Stand up. Measure your waist circumference at the navel, not where your belt sits, at the navel. Divide that number by your height, both in centimeters, the benchmark. Below 0.50 is the target. That is the line. If your waist is less than half your height, your visceral fat risk is significantly lower. Above 0.50 and the risk curve steepens. Above 0.60 and you are in a high-risk category, regardless of what the bathroom scales say or what your BMI reads. Why this matters for executives specifically: the executive lifestyle, chronic stress, business dinners, alcohol, disrupted sleep, long periods of sitting, preferentially deposits fat viscerally. You can be a healthy weight and still have a dangerous waist to height ratio. Many of the clients I see look perfectly fit. Their ratio tells a different story. How to improve it? The interventions that specifically target visceral fat are time-restricted eating, compressing your daily eating into a 10 to 12 hour window, Zone 2 exercise, which is the most potent fat-burning modality for this type of fat, and eliminating ultra-processed food. Visceral fat responds to lifestyle intervention faster than subcutaneous fat. It is the first type of fat to mobilize when you get the inputs right. Number 4. HbA1c, your metabolic crystal ball. This is one your GP probably does test, but almost certainly does not interpret aggressively enough. HbA1c, glycated hemoglobin. This measures your average blood glucose over the previous 90 days
you skipped breakfast, a 3-month rolling average of what your blood sugar has actually been doing. Here is why this number is so powerful. Chronically elevated blood glucose, even within the so-called normal range, drives a process called glycation.
It is literally the caramelization of your proteins and tissues. The same chemical reaction that browns food in an oven is happening inside your body every time your blood sugar stays elevated. It damages blood vessel walls, accelerates cognitive decline, impairs wound healing, and drives inflammation. Most GPs flag HbA1c when it crosses 42. That is the pre-diabetes threshold. But in longevity medicine, we are not waiting for disease. We are optimizing function. An HbA1c of 38 is not the same as 32. Both are technically normal, but one puts you on a trajectory toward insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. The other suggests healthy metabolic flexibility, the optimal target. Below 32 mmol/mol, not just below 42. How to measure it? Ask your GP for a comprehensive metabolic panel that includes HbA1c and fasting insulin. If they only test fasting glucose, you are getting half the picture. Fasting insulin is the earlier warning signal. It rises years before glucose does. By the time glucose is elevated, your pancreas has been compensating for a long time. How to improve it? 3 interventions move HbA1c more effectively than anything else. First, time-restricted eating, giving your body a daily period without food input, allows insulin levels to fall and insulin sensitivity to recover. Second, Zone 2 exercise. Skeletal muscle is the largest glucose sink in your body, and moderate intensity exercise improves how efficiently your muscles absorb glucose. Third, sleep. 1 week of 5-hour nights produces the insulin resistance profile of a pre-diabetic. Sleep is not optional. It is metabolic medicine. If you have been paying attention, you will have noticed something. The same interventions keep appearing. Zone 2, exercise, sleep, time-restricted eating, stress management. That is not a coincidence. The body is a system, not a collection of independent parts. The interventions that improve one marker tend to improve all of them. Fix your sleep and your HRV rises, your cortisol normalizes, your insulin sensitivity improves, and your VO2 max training becomes more effective because your recovery is better. This is why the scattergun approach to health and the supplement here, a fad diet there, does not work. And it is why a systematic biomarker-driven approach does. So here is what I want you to do today. Check your VO2 max on your wearable. If you do not have a wearable, that is your first investment. Not supplements, not tests. A basic fitness tracker. Measure your waist to height ratio. Tape measure 2 seconds. Divide waist by height. Look at your HRV trend from the past week. Is it rising or falling? And ask your GP for a full metabolic panel including HbA1c and fasting insulin at your next appointment. Those 4 data points will tell you more about your future than any annual checkup ever has. If you want to go deeper and see where you stand across all 6 pillars of longevity, not just these 4 markers, take the free Executive Longevity Scorecard. It takes 8 minutes, it is completely free, and you will receive a personalized report showing exactly where your biggest opportunities are. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. I am Dr. Mark Holmes. Subscribe if you want more of this. I will see you in the next video.